Hi, it's Corrine. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today I am making 6 Slimline cards. I pulled out Spellbinder's Flurry of Snowflakes 3D embossing folder. I pulled out some cardstock from scrapbook.com called Home for Christmas. And then I'm pulling out some ornament dies and some Slimline stitched edged nesting dies using Hammermill 100-pound cardstock. I also use thicker cardstock here to add dimension behind my cover piece. So I'm going to cut that out. I started out with a little bit larger than I end up using, and it has a really pretty stitched edge. But I end up cutting these just a little bit smaller with the neck size down because these were cut to 3.5 by 8.5. I just go a little bit smaller with about a 3 1/8 by 8 1/8 inch size. That way it left me a little border on my card. So I started out cutting out all my base pieces first. I do spray them with a little bit of water and run them through the embossing folder. I like to use my Big Shot to run them through. I use the Anna Griffin Impress for my die cutting machine. I cannot find a good sandwich for that. So I like to use my Big Shot. I get the perfect impression every time. And look how pretty this is. So a few of the cards I leave them just as they are, and then a few I will ink blend a little bit on them. So I decided not to go with the pattern paper that I showed in the beginning. Instead, I printed out some Echo Park collections. I just cut them to the size that I need, which were 3 by 3. And then I'm going to just do each card with a different collection from Echo Park. If you're interested in specifics on which paper collections I used from Echo Park, just leave me a comment and I'll make sure to look it up for you. But I think I used 6 different collections from Echo Park. Echo Park is probably one of my favorite paper companies. Same with Cartabella. So I'm just deciding which ornaments that I want to use, and I decided to do 5 on each card. So I do 2 of the larger ones and 3 of the smaller ones. And here I'm just kind of showing you, but off screen I will cut out all the rest of them. I used some tumble glass Distress Oxide and very, very, very lightly went over the top. So it just kind of grabbed on the snowflakes. And here's a closer look. It tones down even a little bit more, and it's just really pretty. I did that on 3 of the cards. The other ones, I liked the white background. So all of my ornaments I did back on another piece of cardstock. This is something that I like to do to just give a little bit of dimension to my card. I like that the recipient will feel that dimension. So I did most of those off screen, just showing you that I did double all of them. And now I'm just kind of laying it out, deciding how I wanted my layout to be. And then once I get the layout, I pretty much do that with all the cards because I thought it looked good, so why change it? Here is where I decided to make my base a little bit smaller. So I just used the next nesting die down. I did also add 2 pieces of 120-pound cardstock to go behind them. Again, just giving it some dimension without using a bunch of foam tape. I don't like the look of foam tape from the side when somebody's looking at a card, so I prefer to use cardstock instead. Sometimes I will use foam tape, but not always. My go-to is cardstock. So look at that thickness. It gives it like a lightweight chipboard. I love that look. So here's all my card bases. I've already adhered one down to a craft card base. And I am pulling out a little glass mat. I like to glue things on that because if any of the glue seeps out, it's super easy to clean up. So I'm using the bow topper, I believe it's called, by Gina K. I love this die set. This is so much fun. And I did double all of these pieces, even though I don't show all of that on screen. I just wanted to show that I do match it to be double like this, like the ornament is. So it has the same height on it when it's adhered to the card. So I ended up doing 2 card bases in craft because I loved the look of this pattern paper with craft cardstock. I love using craft cardstock just in general for Christmas time. And a couple of these I do add a little bit of dimension to, not on all the cards, just some of them I did, just for something a little different. So I'm just adhering these down as we go, putting some paperweights on them, letting them dry, because you want to let them dry being on top of embossing. And wet glue is perfect for that to use. I use Barely Art Glue in a fine tip bottle. So I purposely had a few of them hanging off the edge and the side as well, and I'll just trim off any excess that sticks over it. I don't believe that I've made many slimline cards, and this was a lot of fun to make. I personally would not choose a slimline card unless it's something like this, a pattern going all the way down the front, or maybe a scene card would be fun to make as well. I don't show all of them on camera, but I do always finish the inside of my cards. I believe 2 of these I did not. I'll show the ones that I do, but before I hand them out, I do always finish them. So to make my card base, I'm just scoring it at the 3.5 inch mark, folding it over, giving it a good crease, and then I take it over to my cutter and cut it at the same time, and that gives me my card base. I pulled out some silver glitter paper and cut out a frame. That way I'm not wasting all that paper in the center, being that you would not see most of this. So I just cut out the frame, use some wet glue to glue that down, but that does leave a little gap or a little ledge. So I use that same stitched die cut from just generic cardstock and then added that in the center. That way when I put on my card piece or card front piece, it's all the same level. So I do give that a chance to dry, and now you can see that silver peeking out. And that piece that I cut out from the middle, my intention was originally to save it because, like I said, you won't even see it, but I thought it would be a great idea to add that to the inside of the card. So I added that to the inside with a white cardstock piece over it to be able to write on it. And then I used some silver cardstock for the bow pieces. That turned out so pretty. For the next 2, I'm using some red foil cardstock and champagne foil cardstock by Concord and Ninth. And I'm taking that to my scoreboard, and if you turn it over, I'm just adding some embossing lines, and it gives it that look of like how ornaments would have. So if you turn it over the other way, it's going to emboss them up. And now you can see it has that same look that you would find on your ornament. So I do that with most of my foil cardstock pieces. I pulled out some cranberry cardstock and stamped the word happy just from a stamp set that I had in my stash. I heat embossed it with clear embossing ink, and now I'm using my guillotine cutter to cut that out. Let me see here. Yeah, I used that on one of the cards. I did different sentiments on most of the cards. So this holidays die cut is also Gina K, and it has a shadow piece, so I used the same cranberry cardstock and backed it on craft so it matched. I did 2 extra of the shadow pieces to go behind it to give it dimension. And this is where I planned on using that happy die cut, but I decided to stamp it but you'll see in the end I changed my mind again. So I do stamp the word happy on one of the ornaments, but I'll be covering that up because this stamp, this happy stamp, I have a die cut for. I decided to use the die cut instead. So I'm just lining that up in my MISTI. I will be stamping it with cranberry ink, and I do stamp it down a couple of times to give it a nice impression. I will go ahead and glue down the word holidays. And that's so pretty to me, that font from Gina K. So this next one I'm using Concord and Ninth's, I think it's Festive Blooms, I believe. It's their Christmas collection, their die set, and I used the banner from it, and as you can see I used the holidays die cut from Gina K, and I added that to the craft cardstock. Decided on this one also to stamp the word happy. I did like the way it looked, but like I said, in the end, I do change it again. I still use that happy word. I just stamp it on the matching coordinating die cut. I just wanted to work a little more of that craft in it. So here you can see I did a champagne foil cardstock with the card base being the champagne foil. I added the cranberry banner to the front, and I used the word holidays from the foil cardstock. And this is an old Spellbinders word happy that I had in my stash. For this one, I used the cranberry cardstock again, but I used some red glitter paper and some red foil paper, and I added a little bit of the gold cardstock as well. Here's where I changed my mind. I just used that die cut as my guide to fit that little stamp in and stamp the word happy, and I really like this better. It was the same cranberry cardstock, but I instead put it on craft cardstock. I mean, same cranberry ink rather, that I stamped on craft cardstock, so it all matched. So now I'm going through, on this card I have these little snowflakes, clay snowflakes in my stash. So cute. I added a bunch to the front of the card. And for the rest of them, I went through and used these pearlized, they're kind of pearly snowflakes that I got from Wild Orchid Crafts. So now here is a flip through of all the cards, or a look at all the cards, and here's where I'm showing you. I did 2 layers of that happy so it has dimension. And I use these Pink Fresh gems for the front. I thought they looked so pretty. And on all of them I did use some sort of snowflake. So there's the 2 craft. Here's the one in champagne foil cardstock with that embossing and those snowflakes. So pretty. The larger snowflakes, most of them I only put 3 on the card. For the center of that, I will probably add a piece of cardstock to write in it. This one I have Joy to the World on some rose gold foil cardstock by Concord and Ninth. I thought that matched with the silver beautifully. And then, as I mentioned, I used the red foil, tying in some gold with it. And then my last card I used evergreen cardstock from Concord and Ninth. Here I'm just showing you, everything is got a little bit of dimension on it. So these were super fun to make. Like I said, I don't always make slimline cards, but these were a nice change of pace. I hope you enjoyed the process. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments section, and please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.